Hello and welcome. Today I want to talk about the Tier 7 US cruiser, the USS Flint. She is an Atlanta-class cruiser and she looks absolutely gorgeous. Just look at her, she looks so good. I don't know if you want to call it the paint or the color scheme or the camouflage, but she just looks good. Just compare her to the Atlanta. The Atlanta is the same ship type, but just look at her, it's like this grey blue. She just looks boring compared to the Flint. Flint just looks so good. She just looks pristine. Anyways, like I said, the Flint is an Atlanta-class cruiser, so these two are very similar. The Atlanta has more guns. She has two of these wing turrets at the back. The Flint doesn't have them. She has some AA nests or something like that instead of them. So she does lose 4 guns in total, but in combat you only really lose 2 guns. But the Flint does gain something amazing, which is a smokescreen. And it's not this pitiful type of smokescreen that the Royal Navy light cruisers have. No. This is like a real, proper smokescreen. The best smokescreen at Tier 7, in fact. So, the Flint does have quite a few things over the Atlanta. And something else that's different is the anti-air. While it does say that the Flint has 66 AA rating and the Atlanta has 64 AA rating, I do believe that in the case of AA, the Atlanta actually has the edge. Because the Atlanta has 121 AA DPS at 6 kilometers, the Flint only has 90, or 91, sorry. And basically, the Atlanta's anti-air is more focused on longer range, and nobody sane actually tries attacking an Atlanta or a Flint as a carrier. You just don't do that. So your anti-air is more for support of allies, and having longer range or having the bulk of your AA being in the longer range part just makes it easier. Something else that's different between these two ships is that the Flint actually has usable torpedoes. 9.2 kilometer range, whereas the Atlanta is 4.5. Yes, the torpedoes are faster, but really 4.5 is way too little. The Flint has a smokescreen, and that paired with 9.2 kilometer torpedoes means that you can actually get quite a lot of use out of these torpedoes. But on the Atlanta, these 4.5 kilometer torpedoes, just no. You just cannot use them because, well, apparently the US doesn't have as rigorous maritime standards in the selection of materials when building ships, because the Flint and the Atlanta are made out of cardboard. They are just really fragile. If you look at the armor layout, by the way, they are the same on both of these ships. These are 13mm plates. Yes, the Citadel is 90 or 89 millimeters, but these 13mm plates, they will get overmatched by heavy cruisers. 203mm AP shells will just overmatch this. Which means you cannot angle against heavy cruisers, and this is a really big problem. The nice thing is that if a battleship fires at you and they don't hit the Citadel area, they are likely to over-penetrate, but cruisers are just going to eat you for breakfast. And lunch. And dinner. Fortunately though, on the Flint, you have the smokescreen, so you can utilize that then, because you also have torpedoes. Well, you can hold your own. It's much easier than on the Atlanta. By the way, if you didn't actually know, the Flint is named after the US city, Flint, Michigan, the one with the water trouble. I do hope that one gets fixed. I just cannot believe such a big problem is happening in 2016 in the United States of America. It just feels unreal. And my heart goes out to everybody involved in that. It's just horrible. But anyways, by the way, if you didn't actually know, another thing. This thing right here, where the UI disappears, you can hold down your right mouse button while in port, and the UI disappears and you can take pretty pictures and stuff like that. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about the ship in general, because not everybody has an Atlanta or has played one. So the pros of the ship is that, well, she's very good looking, obviously. The smoke is incredibly powerful. She is very high damage per minute. These are only 127mm caliber shells, but there's a lot of them and you fire a lot of them. She is very strong in a fight against destroyers at close range, the same as the Atlanta. She also has good anti-air for tier 7. Her torpedoes are useful. She sets many fires because of just the volume of the shells. You just have so many of them. And she also has decent concealment. If you put the captain with concealment expert, that goes down to 9.4 kilometers. On the downside though, she is very, very fragile, and her range is really poor. Yes, you can boost this with advanced firing training, but the thing is that her shells are very, very slow, which means that the arcs they have are really high, and it's very difficult to hit things at maximum range. Even this 11.1 kilometers is difficult. So if you boost it by 20%, it'll still be difficult. So I would say that the Flint is a very good tier 7 ship. She is not as good as her stats portray her as, because if you look at, places like Warships today, you'll see that the Flint is literally the best performing ship in the game. But she isn't that powerful. She isn't the best ship in the game though. I would say that the Belfast is a straight up stronger ship. The Belfast has a longer range. She can use the range at the longer distance. She also has access to the tier 8 concealment module, and she's still tier 7. But the thing is that the Flint is a reward ship. To get this ship, you need to get rank 1 in 3 different ranked seasons. And this makes it pretty exclusive. Pretty much everybody who will have this ship is at least not quite a full potato. So this will inflate the average stats of the ship by a huge amount, and that's why you see her top the charts, essentially. Anyways, let's talk about the consumables, modules and skills of the ship. Obviously you want to use premium smoke. Well, she is a premium ship, so you really do want to use premium consumables, all of them. But smoke is the most important one to be premium, because it gives you an additional charge and better reload. But in this second slot, I'm not actually sure if you want to use defensive fire. By the way, the Flint and the Atlanta are special. They have unlimited amount of defensive fires consumables. But I find this to be really not that useful, because I don't think I have ever run out of defensive fires on a ship and then thought, gee, I wish I had another defensive fire consumable. I have run out of them, but I don't think I've ever missed having one extra. But I don't know if you want to actually get defensive fire on the Flint, or maybe you want Hydro instead, because if you use smoke, you might want to just combine it with your hydroacoustic search, because if you have Hydro up, you are going to be safe in your smoke screen, more or less anyway, from torpedoes. Because people really, really like torpedoing smoke screens, and if you aren't prepared with Hydro, you can very, very easily just die. In terms of modules, I would recommend using Main Armaments Modification 1, because you don't want your turrets to break, and well, the other ones really aren't that important here. In the second slot I would use the anti-air range one, because you don't need turret traverse, because these are some of the fastest turrets to turn in the game, and you don't really need dispersion because you're not going to engage too many ships at long range anyway. In the third slot, I recommend using propulsion modification, because I have found that the engine on the ship breaks quite often, just like the Atlanta. Of course you can use something else as well, like the Demecon one. This is completely fine as well. And in the last slot, I do recommend using steering gears, because she isn't the most maneuverable ship of her size. You would expect the rudder shift to be slightly better, but it is what it is. In terms of captain skills, I would recommend using a destroyer captain. All the skills aren't, quite perfect, but it's better than using a normal cruiser captain. Because you kind of want to... Well, okay, so let's talk about what I would recommend in a Flint exclusive captain. I would recommend getting basic firing training, and then either last stand or torpedo armament expertise, one of these two. Getting expert marksman is kind of pointless. In the third tier I would recommend getting Superintendent, and in the fourth tier I would recommend getting Demolition Expert or Advanced Firing Training. But I think Advanced Firing Training might be slightly better on the Atlanta than on the Flint. I think Demolition Expert would be the strongest on the Flint. But because this is Destroyer Captain, you know, it's not a perfect fit. And at tier 5, obviously Concealment Expert, because this puts it at 9.4 kilometer concealment, which is very, very useful. Anyways, time for a match. This is a match on the map Trident, and I headed straight for the middle of the map, because I will try to smoke here, where I am currently. Because this will give me an escape route behind the island once my smoke disappears. And while an enemy, Cleveland, came to meet me, fortunately she is only firing HE, so I shouldn't take too much damage here. And should be able to return quite a bit, although the problem might end up being with spotting. Oh, right now it's okay. That's some decent damage on the Cleveland. And the Cleveland is actually turning in and not running away. That's very, very good for me. Because, as I mentioned, the shells are slow, so the arcs are very, very high, and it does mean that it's difficult to shoot at targets far away. Whereas shooting at targets close range is very, very easy. Okay, some random torpedoes really right now would be a very good idea if I had Hydro to use that Hydro, but unfortunately I don't. Swapped AP to try to get some Citadels, unfortunately didn't quite work. I think just firing HE here would have been better overall. I believe that combined 3 salvos would have done more damage if it had been HE. Fortunately I did get the fire. Maybe I'll get lucky and the fire makes the Cleveland expire. And we can see an enemy Gneisenau YOLOing in. By the way, look at the minimap. Just look at it. Look at what my team is doing. I cannot believe how slow they are. It's 3 minutes 15 seconds into the game. The only ones that have essentially passed the spawn are me and the Hatsuharu. That's it. Nobody else on our team has moved even one bit. And the downside with this is that it's working out for our team. They will probably think that this is the right way to play. It's just it's unfortunate because you know, they got the Gneisenau kill. We are ahead, and I have done significant damage to that Cleveland. My smoke will dissipate very, very soon. I believe it's already disappearing, so I can... And well, there she goes. I can run behind that island. I'm not very afraid of a Gneisenau, although I should be, because that AP can hurt. Fortunately, because I was standing still and started accelerating, the AP salvo missed. And it's a Gneisenau, so there's only 6 of them. I believe that battleship is actually within my torp range. Although if she turns closer, I guess they aren't gonna hit anyway. Oh well. It's okay, I left a fire. Probably gonna be Hydro though. Unfortunately, I met this North Carolina, and this might end up going badly. But I'm not certain if she is actually aiming for me. Okay, so we've taken out the Cleveland and the Gneisenau, so our team has a 2-ship advantage, yet our team is still inside the cap zone. This is actually pretty good for standard battle. It's very, very bad for domination mode, and unfortunately people take this attitude in domination mode as well, where they just sit in the cap zone forever. Obviously I'm gonna smoke here and just keep burning the Gneisenau down, doing some barbecue. The Flint is an expert at defending, just like the Belfast or, you know, the other Royal Navy light cruisers, because she has smoke, and this means she doesn't really want to be very mobile. And considering her bad range, it's very, very useful if enemies attack into you. Okay, so that Gneisenau was, I don't know what he was doing really, because he really, really shouldn't have died like that. But it is what it is. Unfortunately, I couldn't quite farm some barbecue more on her. And basically, what happens in this match is that the enemy team attacks into our team and we just win because we have more guns on target. They attack one by one. It just means that everybody on our team can fire, whereas only a few on the enemy team can fire, and that just puts us at an advantage, so once we do go in, we should win all the gunfights. It does set a bad precedent though for many of my allies, because it means that it teaches them that maybe it's okay to just, you know, AFK and spawn for a really long time. It really isn't okay. It's just appropriate in some circumstances. But it is what it is. Because I am a Flint, I can do aggressive maneuvers with smoke. Like, I can sail up to an enemy, then use smoke and just sit there and fire at them. At least as long as radar cruisers aren't in play. But even then, if they are like Soviet radar cruisers, it's not always the most dangerous thing, because that smoke or that radar only lasts for 25 seconds. But anyways, at this point, we are at a very significant advantage. So it's just time to try to hunt enemies down, because they are all spread out like that. That North Carolina is pretty much alone over there, and the rest of the team of his is on the other side of the map. So that North Cal is easy pickings, or North Car, I guess, is easy pickings, and so are really the Tirpitz and Fuso. I'm really only heading towards the Tirpitz and Fuso because I want to be part of more action. If I wanted to really win the game, the appropriate course of action would be to try to pick off that North Carolina before engaging these guys. But I don't think the game is going to last long enough for that to be meaningful. The enemy team has all of their destroyers still left. All of them. All of them. Yet all the others have died. I believe that the enemy team messed up. Too many of their ships just YOLO'd in and died. And unfortunately our team did the best thing against that, which is they AFK'd in spawn. It tends to counter YOLOing in. Wow, I feel so bad for that Fuso. That's a stock Fuso. That guy has 13 kilometers range. I feel so bad. Let me just put you out of your misery. Thank you very much. Now it's time to shoot that Tirpitz. Try to pick her off, get as much damage as possible. That guy asked what the anti-air on the Flint is like. Well, it's worse than on the Atlanta, but it's good. It's very good for a tier 7 cruiser. The next target should be that Hatsuharu, I think. At least it would make sense. Because I can't fire that far on the Tirpitz, especially if she keeps running. I can, however, fire at this Hatsuharu, but look at how much I need to lead. You might actually want to utilize the so-called trick that Eurobeat used in his Atlanta video, which is to zoom out 2 ticks. That will help you lead slightly better, because, you know, ships won't be off-screen when you try to lead enough. Oh, I'm actually being shot at. Maybe I will simply use the smoke here. I am within range of the Tirpitz. She can't probably run too far away from me. But I do think that the game... Actually, no, the game might not end quite yet. But I think it has pretty much been decided already, though. Because they... like... Sure, having destroyers left at the end of the game is good, but they can't deal with an entire enemy team. They're not that good. And that Tirpitz should go down soon as well. The trick with doing what I'm currently doing is you zoom in, pick a position to fire it, and then you hold down the right mouse button. And you can then fire while your guns keep shooting at the same location. Sadly, the Tirpitz just got out of my range, so I can't fire at her anymore. Unless she starts turning in. But I guess she's not gonna do that anymore, since she is hiding under the water. I can probably hit the Błyskawica if she starts slowing down and stops in the smoke, but if she keeps running, I don't think I can even hit her. The question with is the Flint worth it? Of course it is worth it, because, well, you do want to get rank 1 in all of the seasons anyway, so if you get a free ship that's better than the Atlanta, of course you want it. Why would you not want it? Okay, so this... I might be able to get a close range fight on the Kiev, or maybe the Kiev runs away, I'm not sure. I'll try torpedoing, maybe I'll get like super lucky, maybe the Kiev comes in for a torpedo herself, so that could be useful, but I don't think it'll happen. I think it'll end up being a gunfight at range. We'll see though, we'll see. Start right away because the shell caliber is, you know, sorry, the shells are slow. Look at how much I need to lead. And this is at like 6-7 kilometers by the Kiev. Imagine how much I would need to lead at 10 kilometers. The upside though is that I can fire over many islands that many other ships cannot, but it's very difficult to fight Soviet destroyers, especially ones that are running away. In this case it's okay because she made the mistake of coming way too close, but if the Kiev had stayed at like 8-9 kilometers, this would have been a pretty much impossible fight. It's very, very difficult for an Atlanta or Flint. What you really want to do as an Atlanta or Flint is to just run away. Or keep running straight at them and push them into a position where they cannot run away like the Kiev currently is, because her engines are broken and apparently she doesn't have smoke, so she died to me. But if she had played correctly, which is to stay at longer range, this probably wouldn't have happened, and you know, the Kiev would have been fine. She probably wouldn't have killed me, but I wouldn't have been able to kill her either. So, they still have a Błyskawica. She can fire at me. I can try to fire at her in return, but look, she's standing still. I fire my guns, right? She starts accelerating. And my shells miss. She started accelerating after I fired my guns, and my shells still missed. The thing is, if I had predicted that she would move forward, if she had moved backward, all my shells would have missed either way as well. Although I think it would have been better to take the gamble anyway. But you just saw how poor the shell velocity is. And actually the isolated North Carolina was the second last ship to die. The game's pretty much over, I'll just skip to the end. And the game ended due to points. Oh well, whatever. We still won. And I got to use my aggressive smoke while my team AFK'd in base. 102,000 damage, it's an okay result in the Flint. Could have been better though. But it was mostly down to what happened in this match. Wow! I got 1848 base experience. Number 2 on our team is at 1066. The enemy Kiev actually did pretty well, 855. Hatsuharu too, but the rest of the team, the Gneisenau that YOLO'd in, the Cleveland that YOLO'd in, they did poorly. Luckily though, I did well, so I'm quite happy with this. But you can see that while our camping strategy worked really, really well, it didn't give very good results to the guys that actually camped. Like, I was number 1, and the Hatsuharu was number 3. We were the 2 that did not camp at the start of the game, or AFK or whatever you want to call it. So I really do recommend not AFKing at the start, unless you're a cruiser. If you're a cruiser, it might be justified that you wait until, you know, the bigger ships start moving. Unfortunately, sometimes the bigger ships don't move, so your cruiser is stuck too. But if you have smoke, it's okay, you can be aggressive because you have a smoke screen to hide behind. Well, that's my damage. My kills were complete kill secure, so to say. It's okay though, I made a profit of 320,000 credits and it was an okay game. Anyways, I would like to thank the Patreons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support, Uhtred the Bold. And I hope I see you guys next time.